De mare.
Welcome, 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 family. Welcome back to those of you joining. Blessed rising, good morning, bonjour, sabah al khair, maskoufi. Please jump in with how you say good morning from where you're from in your language. We're just finishing up a very fascinating panel on the importance of language and the power of African languages. So please invoke yours and bring it into this space. We start our day with what is right with Africa. Today, we have a very special edition, and it is What's the Africa You See Coming? And we have the African unicorn version of this. And I'm very, I am very, very happy to have them join the family. Actually, they are returning family members. They joined us in August as part of the discussion on anti-Blackness in our community. Hopefully, we are here for a lighter topic, for a lighter in terms of weight here, just to be clear of that. Ooh. And they are closing this panel, it would seem. Ines, take it away.
Oh, as I take a sip of my coffee. Well, hello, everyone. Good morning. We're excited to be here. Well, I'm super excited to be here. It is 8:25 in the morning here in DC on a Saturday, which is a little unusual for me, a little bit early on a Saturday rising, but I'm very excited. I woke up at 7. I put on some perfume for y'all. I don't know if you can notice, but I did, and I feel good about myself. So I'm excited to talk about unicorn stuff with my unicorn groups. So yeah, you're muted, Diva.
Unmuted. Thank you, Ines. You know the classic introduction here, and for Zaytoun and Jara, we're just going to reiterate that how we introduce ourselves to the family here is we say who we are, we see what keeps us up at night, and you tell the family how we can help you sleep better, whether it's helping you amplify a project you're working on, helping you research something you're doing, or, you know, speak about what you're doing in our circles. So introduce yourselves to the family. Zaytoun.
Hello. Oh, this is so nerve-wracking. So my name
you don't even have a camera on, so.
Do you know, in Africa I'm living in right now, the internet connection, you have to choose voice over video, otherwise it'll slow things down. But yeah, so my name is Zaytoun Ali. Very excited to join on this unicorns conversation. What keeps me up at night? Well, the organization that I work for is a nonprofit. So I am responsible for bringing funds into the organization. And every morning that I don't have new money, my boss is always questioning me. So if you guys have any money that you have sitting around, Ines, I know you work for a bank, any corporate social responsibility, pots that you can help me dig into it. Much appreciated. I think that will really help me sleep at night. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Zaytoun. we'll go back to finding out what your organization is about in case someone does know how to help. Jara.
Hello. It is afternoon here? It's noon. I am in Senegal, Dakar, Senegal. My name is Jara. My name is Jara Sabali. And what else am I supposed to say? What keeps me up at night? Apart from the finale of Game of Thrones, I would have to say, so I think that women's rights or grassroots organizations should, get more money. They get like 0.2% of the funding that goes towards women. They don't get anything, even though they are the driving forces behind, most of all the progress that happens in their communities, in their countries. So I think, these grassroots, or some people call them community-based organizations, should get, a lot more of the funding, because, it's just sad that they don't get much. So that is my issue. If people could just, do that, and like bigger organizations to stop hoarding the money that goes towards women's rights, that would be nice. That's my problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining with these. I mean, I almost want to say how typical. You step into a space and ask for money. Well, we're very representative.
We are taking advantage of Africans coming together and asking, how can I help you?
But don't you think this is maybe why Africans don't come together more often? Because we're asking.
It's the first thing that we do. Tell you about our problems. Usually money problems.
This panel is not about this session is actually to highlight what's right with Africa. However, we're taking it a different version, because when we say what's right, we really mean what's right now that will bring more rights that we need in our space. We need in our family, which is what Africa Week 2020 is really about. It's a family reunion. And so, yeah, by all means, if money is what you need, then let's look at ways. I'm not saying I have it. Let's just be clear. I'm broke.
Zitun and I are looking at you with like big eyes. With, like,
and I see them. And I see them because I'm seeing here like two big circles with your like avatars, and then they actually look like, I'm actually going to take a picture right now.
They do. They look like googly eyes staring at you.
Oh, we have, oh my God. We have the unicorn version of the kids. Hang on. Okay. Well, you're both on the continent. Tell us what's right. What's coming? What's good that's happening on the continent that the family should know about for now, while I take this picture?
COVID, I feel like, my country is doing such a great job. I am so proud of Senegal. When it first hit Senegal, I was really, I was like, oh my God, we're a developing country. We're not going to make it. We're just, and our cases were going, I think we were like the second or third country in Africa to get it. I was like, oh no. But then, like we really stepped up. I mean, we had testing, I think, before the US. Senegal did really, and they're still working so hard, and they're just doing such a great job, honestly. So I'm really proud, and it's more the youth. You see these really young doctors just killing it out there. So really proud of Senegal, hoping that, we still need funding to do better.
But actually, Senegal was the first lab, the first testing kits that were released were out of Senegalese labs, and there was the partnership, and the Brits jumped right in a partnership with with the Senegalese scientists, and then it just like sort of just disappeared off the news. But
Yeah, they're still doing really, really great work at their it's called Institut Pasteur. They're doing just such fascinating work. They still are. So I'm really proud of them for, doing a good job with COVID. I mean, of course, it's still like a big issue, but I think yeah, I'm proud of Senegal for that.
Yay, Senegal. Zaytoun, what's happening on the other side of the continent?
Zaytoun, you're muted, by the way.
Yes. Zaytoun fell asleep. Or got distracted by a rainbow.
It's probably the rainbow.
It's probably the rainbow. Okay, Ines, give us your non-rainbow view.
Oh man, non-rainbow view. Perfect. Okay. So I was born in Sudan. I lived there for 14 years. I think I appreciated it before moving to the US. I think I appreciated it more after I moved than having been living there. And just, I mean, I spent most of my adult life in America, so I think I have a different perspective on it growing up there versus how I would view it now as an adult. I love Sudan. I love Africa. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm in just a little bit of a negative space when it comes to like addressing what's right with Africa. But there are amazing things coming out of Africa, and I'm all for it. I think I get stuck sometimes in kind of like looking at it at Sudan in comparison to other African countries, and I just wish if it's flourishing like it's the rest of Africa. And I think from like many different perspectives in just kind of living there and kind of going back and visiting, I feel like a lot of things in terms of progress and development are kind of stagnant, if not the same. And it sometimes is disheartening going back to visit and noticing the same issues that I've been growing up seeing, whether it's like the poverty, whether it's lack of access to basic things, whether it's anything from like literally clean water to great healthcare system. And I think in visiting Kenya and more recently, I was just like, oh man, like there's so much that can we just catch up to our partners a little bit? And that just like it just kind of disheartens me. Sudan has a great potential for being a great tourism hub. But tourism, whenever my friends ask me like, oh, like I want to go to Sudan, like I want to see what's in Sudan, and I'm like, yeah, I want to show you, but like I don't know if you're gonna like it. It's not like Kenya or Senegal where you could like go by yourself and like have a blast. But yeah, so I wish certain things like that. And so in presenting it to the world, I just wish if like that piece was there in terms of just like it being attractive to people, where attractive enough for people to come back and want to see its beauty and want to enjoy it and such. And I think a lot of times we just hear turmoil and like what's wrong with Africa, but sometimes it's just also a struggle to see like to present the highlights of what's positive and what's happening there. So yeah, that's the space.
So okay, I get it. A bit of a negative space, and that's fine because we're saying it as it is. But what's the Africa you see coming? Because you are seeing some shifts. You are seeing some changes, especially when it comes to tourism. You're seeing more of an effort to engage with that. You're seeing more of a Sudanese effort in the context of Sudan, to be tourists in our own countries, to get to familiarize ourselves with it so that we don't freeze up like that when someone asks us, hey, when someone says, oh, we want to go to Sudan, like, why?
Yeah. I think the word that is coming to mind is vibrant. It was so energizing, just watching it from afar, because obviously this year with the travel restrictions and all, but just the amount of activism that is happening, especially in like the Sudanese revolution, and seeing so many different factions of people, like women, young people, kids, like being super involved. And like I see cute little videos of like kids chanting certain like revolution songs and like saying certain slogans about like Sudan pride and like all of that. And it was really touching because I was like, oh man, like I wish if I had that as a kid, like this sense of like awareness or like pride, or just being plugged into like the national fabric in terms of like what's current events of like what's happening. And I think that is something new, not new, but it's refreshing to see. So I definitely like that. And I think now what's happening is the celebration, the embrace of like the different the social fabrics in Sudan, like the different traditions, the different cultures. We had a conversation yesterday about the term Kandaka, that is famous, that got tagged into the Sudanese revolution for women, being the Nubian warriors and whatnot. And some groups in Sudan coming out and saying, well, I identify with a different word because my cultural heritage is that word in my cultural heritage is something different. And then they're championing their word. So like, that was great to see. And like Sudan is like a mosaic of all different cultures. And I think that's sometimes it's hard to present that to people because they're like, wait, are you Nubian? Or, we're not all, Nubia is one fabric of the larger mosaic. But I think it's now being celebrated and embraced, which is something that wasn't there before, just wasn't as prominent. So I really appreciate that, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm sad that I'm like not there to get the full experience of what that feels like on the ground. But yeah, the vibrancy, the activism, the highlights, the highlighting of all the different cultures is like really refreshing and nice to see.
Yeah, indeed. And we still have a ways because, we still have the discussions of, just the fact that we're saying, Kandaka is a Nubian word, and to invoke that word or to use that word, you pay respect to the heritage of it and learn some of the struggles of these people before just throwing it around like confetti. And again, using that language, using a marginalized language to marginalize another, are some of the challenges that we do need to navigate. But we're seeing the discussions happening, which is something that we can say is a shift. And I'm curious to see on the other fronts or in other regions of the continent, what are some of the shifts you're seeing that are giving you some positive vibes, maybe that you can tell us, that help you see what the Africa coming looks like. Again, unicorn mode, let's just say unicorn mode. What's the Africa you see coming, Zaytoun or Jara? What are some of the trends that are showing you that?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, guys. I lost the connection for a while.
Don't call us guys.
Okay, sorry, unicorns. Sorry, what is the Africa we see coming? What are the things that we see that are exciting us about Africa? So for me, I guess I can only, speaking on Kenya, one of the really amazing things that has happened in Kenya has been happening in Kenya for quite some time is, I think, the adoption of mobile money across the country, and access to banking and loan services for people all the way in far out rural communities. I think that has especially boosted e-commerce when you look at the way the country has been operating. Whereas previously, I think in the early 2010s, e-commerce was really only targeting customers in like major towns or cities. But because of how much mobile money has penetrated all the way down to village level in rural areas, people, no matter how far out and how disconnected they are from the cities or towns, are still able to access through online, because of as well the penetration of internet all the way down to rural communities, goods online, and have it actually be easily delivered right at their doorstep. So one of the easy things for us, and it's actually because of this adoption of internet and just e-commerce generally, we've managed COVID-19 similar to what Jara was saying, where we're able to easily get access to anything that we want through online apps, whether it be grocery apps, clothing store apps, Facebook, Instagram, whatever our heart desires, it's at a click away and motorcycle delivery away. So that's actually one of the really cool things in terms of, I don't remember it being that easy actually when I was in America, but I wasn't very explorative in America. So being back in Africa, because you're concerned about all the potential restrictions, you suddenly start looking at every way possible to make your life easier. And you come across all of these great innovations that you didn't know were happening. Because again, there's that negative perception of Africa and Africans and the creativity and the ingenuity that it is happening here as much as it's happening anywhere else in the world. So that's, I would guess those are one of the few things I'm excited about.
That's Jara.
Yeah, I guess similar to what Zaytoun just said, the Senegal that I'm seeing now and the one I left, you know, when I was in 2008 or 9, very, very different. Things are, you have, well, there's like, how do I put this? There's like, internet has made, I mean, technology, I'd say technology has made things really like easy, it has made things easier. And like, I know that Zaytoun keeps making fun of our Wi-Fi, but I have to say we have like really great Wi-Fi here. Sometimes better than the one I have in my apartment in New York. I'd have to say the one I have home here in Senegal. And yeah, just things have really, really changed. And I'm seeing the youth, they're just using technology right now to just do really, really fascinating things. And so I'm just seeing, a big change that I'm, happy about. And I'm happy to see where they, the youth, where they take that in 5, 10, 15 years, where they go with that and what happens. So I'm really, really happy to see that. And I'm seeing more of people actually embracing and not always looking to the West for answers, doing things in Senegal, using Senegalese products, I don't want to say loving their culture more, because that just sounds, but yeah, just using actual natural products to make it look cool to the younger folks. And so that's the trend I've been seeing in Senegal when it comes to, and not just technology, fashion. Like our fashion has just, really fascinating things. When you go out now, you see more women just wearing clothes that were made from here, and they were like traditional outfits, and go into offices with it without, even caring what, not wearing your regular pants and suit and then tuck in. No, actually Fridays when you go out, everyone is in a set. It's like Eid. Everyone is in and out. It's like a thing. Like I was on the phone with my my best friend the other day, and she was like, "Oh my God, tomorrow's Friday. I need to figure out like, the outfit I'm going to wear to the office, like the traditional outfit I'm going to wear to the office. Like everyone's just decked out, and not in your European style, but in like a wrapper and everything. It's for you go out. It's fascinating, even during these COVID times. So yeah, seeing more of those, it's really it's fun. It's fun to see those. It's fun to see people actually now relying on what Senegal has instead of always looking, towards the US or France. So that's something that I really like, and that I'm seeing a lot.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I will say that I think you were right in saying or going to the direction of saying loving their culture more, because that's been a theme, and it's been something that we're picking up from across the continent and the diaspora, that there is this sudden, and I don't know if it's sudden, but there's this definitely more tangible urge to reconnect with our heritage, to reconnect with our culture, our identity, our traditions, whether it's in what we're wearing or how we're speaking, or just simply reconnecting with the roots in any capacity, whether it's going to the continent, whether it's starting organizations or initiatives that allow us to come together and bridge what we're working on. And I'm loving to hear that there is now this, in the context of doing that, it's ultimately sustaining us. It's shifting the sustainability of how we do things. Because if we're using what we have, if we're using what we already have and what historically we know how to use as a people, then there's an empowerment in that as well. So some of the words we have coming through here, because I asked in one word to tell us what the Africa you see coming is. Inas said vibrant. Imani says revolution. And then she said visionary, Ubuntu, and interconnectedness. Family, wherever you are, just tell us in one word what's the Africa you see coming, and what is something that maybe could not be taken as this is a positive thing, but if you look at it, it's really like some people, for example, with what Zaitoon is saying about having mobile money, or having this convenience of having things on the mobile. Some would say, oh, well, that's not really African. This is, further westernization or that. But how is that impacting life in a way that it can be seen out of the context of this is something that is non-African coming into the country? How are we using what we have and what we work on for that? Oh, you're tagging people, Imani. Thank you. Keep tagging, keep sharing with people.
I can talk about that for a bit.
Yeah, please. As I launch the second panel off, I will be right here.
I was impressed with Kenya, actually. So I visited last year. And Zaitoon, hearing you talking about the e-commerce piece, which was pretty cool to see in action. There's is it called the M-Pesa system?
M-Pesa,
yeah, like, so from what I understand, it's like an app. It's basically like the version, the equivalent of like a Cash App or Venmo, I guess. And that was really cool, right?
Yeah, it's almost like that. I mean, it's with the service provider, so it's not like a standalone. So it would be if AT&T is your provider, then it's a service that's provided with AT&T, and they have basically different. It provides different services, so you can withdraw money, you can send money to people's mobile wallets. People can now, and then people can take what's in their mobile wallet and deposit it into their bank accounts if they have. If they don't have a bank account and they're very rural individuals, then they can just, their mobile wallet basically acts as a bank account. There's a savings account in it in which you can put away money as a savings, and it locks it away, and you can like put a timer on it and have it and be able to access it maybe a month or two from now, depending on however you want to set up. You can use it to pay for anything, whether it be at a grocery, if you go to the supermarket, you pay your bill from your M-Pesa account. You can go to the restaurant, and there's pay bill numbers and till numbers, depending on which number, business numbers that the agents, the different businesses have set up. You can, somebody can send you money, and even if you don't have a mobile wallet, you can go to an M-Pesa agent in one of the kiosks, very many kiosks anywhere around the streets, and just go withdraw that money. What's happening now is I as an individual can go and apply to be an agent, and now it becomes a business for me. So I become an agent that's able to basically carry out the services for anybody who is interested in withdrawing or depositing money. And I will just be expected to have a certain amount of float, basically cash on hand, in which then the exchanges will be happening. So it's everything that you do. You no longer need to you don't need an ATM card, because the mobile wallet can be linked to your bank account. You do not need any cash on hand, which again helped with COVID-19. Everybody was able to immediately shift to just mobile payments without even any stress whatsoever. All businesses were immediately able to shift. No one was dealing in cash, except unless you were really far out in the rural areas and or if it's a really informal business. But most people were easy and quick to adapt to M-Pesa.
Like that is, in my opinion, the dopest thing ever. Like, in being in Kenya, like, I was so floored by that whole system. Like, and not to say, like, I mean, obviously, like in the US, it's like, you know, there are versions of that exist all over, but to see it in Africa being done, adapted to, not just being done in terms of an infrastructure standpoint, but the concept has been adapted to really the Kenyan way of life. You know, people aren't necessarily used to walking around with credit cards or just cards in general, debit or whatever ATM cards. And to just make it easy and accessible for everyone, you have your digital wallet. You know, as long as you have your phone, you can just take that out and you have cash on you. And like, it was so easy also in terms of use, and it made life so much easier. And I wish if something like that were to be taken anywhere, like in Africa. And I'm thinking of Sudan especially, because you know, people in Sudan, our financial system is a little bit behind, in just kind of being sanctioned as a sanctioned country for so long. The development of the financial sector is just not keeping up with the current times. And so people literally walk around with just cash. Like, I've seen people come out with bags, literally with bags of cash. Like, it's still, like, this is mind blowing to me. Like, 2020, people are carrying literally trash bags filled with cash.
Oh my goodness.
Because we don't trust the banking system, because at a moment's notice, especially with the revolution going on and instability and all of that, like, your funds can be seized at any point with no
that already happened. Actually, at some point, they put a cap at how much you can withdraw, and at a snap of a finger, because they keep playing with the currency, you know, the dollar, where the dollar is, and Visa, you can lose the value of your money just in a blink. Oh, it's already happening. But yeah, bags.
Yeah.
trash bags.
Wow.
Like my sister is there, and she's like, you know, during that time, she was like, I had to make sure I have a certain amount of money at home because, you know, there was a period of 2 weeks where she would go to the bank and the bank would literally be like, we don't have enough money. So the ATM just cannot give you any funds. It's ridiculous. We're talking about 2020, you know, like why is that even a concept? So like to come to Kenya and see that e-commerce piece, especially when it comes to finance, has been adapted in a way where it fits how people live in Kenya, like was just mind-blowing to me. I was like, I want that to be adopted like everywhere. Like this, it makes people's lives easier. And I think there's just like I just in Africa in general, I just want to adopt this philosophy that like let's just make our life easier. Like there's so many things we could do that are just like that could be viewed as simple, but it facilitates the way of life and it just makes it so much easier rather than having to wait on like literally it's like a telephone game. Like somebody will send you money, but it's through somebody's third cousin removed who's coming from the UK who has $250 for you, and then you got to chase that person down when they come to Sudan and like go take the money or whatever from them. And I'm just like, why? But we have a network.
Sometimes I leave the house never being worried about money because I know I'll never be stranded. Like it's just a phone call away. You can call your, you know, one of your friends, you know, your siblings, you know, whoever, your parents, whoever it is that you know that you're in a hard spot at that moment, you're 500 shillings or $50 less, and you make a call and you say, hey, here's the business number, deposit, just pay that money. And that's it. Like you don't ever have to worry about finding yourself somewhere without money. Even if you've forgotten your home, you can go to an agent at a kiosk and you have your ID and you basically say, can you withdraw this money from this account? It's tied to your mobile money, which is, you know, tied to your identification card. And right there, what you didn't have, you have in an instant.
I thought it was the dopest thing when we hopped in an Uber, and before realizing how this whole M-Pesa system works, and you know, all you did was ask him for his number, you put in the number, you put in the amount, and it wasn't even a minute. I mean, it was like 15 seconds. It was like, yep, I got it. Okay, good. And we were out of the Uber. And I don't think you looked back to see my reaction. The whole time I was like, wait, is it over? Like, oh, we can go now? Like this, it was that quick? Like it was just literally like a swipe of a card and it was over. But I was in awe at like how easy that was. And it's amazing. It's just something simple like that can be easily adopted. But and when you think about like the implications of what that means, like especially for safety, like in Sudan, it's like because everything is cash based. Like I have to leaving the house, I have to think about all the possible expenses that may come up because I need to make sure I have enough cash. So if I left the house with $30 and that money runs out, I'm like stranded until I get home and get more money. And I don't bank in Sudan because it's just, in my opinion, is not safe. So it's like it's really just you're on your own, unless if you can stop by an aunt's or uncle's place somewhere to get more money, and it happened before. But it's that's just like ridiculous. I feel like that's an easy fix to do.
Sorry, Dima, are you about to say something?
Dima, yeah, you're muted.
Yeah, but Zaytun was going. I could hear Zaytun begin speaking, so I waited.
Oh no, I was just gonna on just that because I feel like we've dragged Jara along an M-Pesa discussion that she's just like, what are these people talking about?
Well, actually, I just want to take it back to Jara. So do say your I am taking it back to Senegal for another point.
Well, that's exactly what it is. I was gonna say, hey Jara, I want to hop back in here because we've dragged you in on the M-Pesa conversation for a little too long.
Wait, Jara, do you guys have a system like that? I'm curious to see how like finances work.
Yeah, we do. It's more Frenchy though. It's called Orange Money. I'm not.
Listen,
It's
anything you
it's
put on,
Africa here, Raisa. I mean, Jara, please don't talk to me about bonjour.
anything you put on with a French accent.
This thing
I'm
is
like,
public. I shouldn't say such things.
That's credible. That's credible. However she said it, it's credible.
No, you can say it. It's public, but you can do it. Zaytoun, it's a safe space. This is a family space. Out with it.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure how it means, but I think it comes with, like Zaytoun was saying, it comes with the phone, so like the phone company you're with, Orange, which is French, and that you can send money, with Orange Money. So I'm not exactly sure how it works, but I see that a lot of people use it. They go to the store. A lot of stores take it. Even the markets, sometimes you go and you just all you need is the person's phone number and their name, and if they have Orange Money, you can send it. You can send the money. So I think we have something similar to that, but I can go into details because I'm not exactly sure how it works. But going with the initial question of like, what is something that people don't necessarily agree with that that's happening, or I think that was your question. For us, what I see that's a little controversial lately in Senegal is our media. Our media is really going off well in Western Africa, like the French Africa. We're having a lot of shows, and it's really like the industry's it's quite booming, and but there's like more content. But now we have a few of the elders or religious leaders in Senegal saying, oh, we don't like the image of Senegal that you're showing because there's certain topics that you're talking about that is taboo. That always comes with media. That always comes with media. So that's something that you can say it's progress because they're definitely doing really well. And actually, this whole Orange Money thing I knew through watching these shows. That's how I'm learning about Senegal. Like while I'm in New York, I'm like, let me watch these shows so I can know what's happening in my country. And it's through them that I've learned how like the fashion has changed, how we have all these new things going on, especially in Dakar. How Dakar, even though it's the city now, like other places, are like booming now, like in the south and stuff like that. But anyway, so that's like big. That's like a huge issue in Senegal because some are saying, "Oh, this is great that now we have countries like Mali, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire, French Africa watching our shows and actually loving our shows and stuff like that." And then elders and religious leaders are like, this is not, now you guys are just doing too much. You're talking about all these, it's becoming too sexual. Mind you, that's like two people just looking at each other, or maybe like a kiss on the cheek. They're like, oh my God, this is just it's too far. There was a show where there was I think there was a scene where there was a thong on a bed, and that, oh my God, that created such a big issue. Why is there an underwear on the bed? Why did you have to show the underwear that was on the bed? Why would you do that? So it's like stuff that, but like when I see it, I'm just like, what? But then I'm like, okay, well, I've been watching like Netflix shows, I've been watching like Game of Thrones, so I'm like set, like at this point. Like, that's nothing to me, but thinking about some of the folks here, that's something. Anyways, that's just, because I'm rambling now, but like, that's kind of the issue with, is it progress, or are we just going towards now? Like, is it too Western now that we're showing all these things? But then the other side's argument is this is what is happening in Senegal. Like, why are we hiding it? Like, we know these things happen. So
I don't know. It's always been more embarrassing to me seeing two Africans kiss than two white people kiss, because I don't know. It just seems like it's not our culture. So I just feel embarrassed when I see it happen on our local channels. I'm just like, oh my God, what is happening? And I don't know why. I can never. It just always. It's just a reflex, I think, because we come from even households where we've never seen our parents even have a kiss. It's not even. So I just think it's always been expected. With Western media, we're more tolerant seeing those types of scenes than when we see it happening in our own countries, and we think, oh my goodness, we've lost our way, and we're now becoming like Westerners. But then it's like, that's just because that's the cultures that we grew up in, conservative cultures. And then you think, wow, has the culture changed this much that now this is something that's acceptable? Because it wouldn't have been acceptable just a few years ago.
Yeah, but it's like, those are the shows though that are doing so well. It's like,
yeah,
watch.
But here's the thing. I mean, I think it's really interesting that you brought up entertainment, Jara, because I don't, it's definitely an industry that has been booming. And I think the struggle for a really long time has been representation, right? Like, we like, I mean, growing up, we watched a whole bunch of just American shows, or just, British or American series or movies and whatnot. And we never really kind of invested in giving ours a chance. I think because even like years ago, growing up, like the Sudanese like sitcoms or like TV show, like it just like wasn't really that interesting, or it was corny, or like just not funny, or just badly made. And now it's just kind of going back and watching certain things. I'm like, oh wow, like this is really dope. Like some of it is current reflection of like society, and like it's more of us. It's more of like our current us, rather than like this like super low budget. I mean, they are kind of like sometimes super low budget, and you have to just kind of get over that. But like it's really kind of a representation of us. And it's interesting, Zaytun, that you brought up that like the discomfort of like watching certain things. But I think it challenges a whole lot of cultural norms that we have through the medium of entertainment, expressing love, for example, or affection to like your spouse or your a significant other and whatnot. And like that's okay. Like we could do that. And like as a culture, we can like embrace that. But obviously, like in a lot of African traditions, that's not something that is something that's just like frowned upon. And I think challenging that and even having these discussions, I find it even with my parents and like people that the quote unquote elders, and kind of reframing how we express ourselves and how we communicate love and being in tune with feelings and like things like that. It's as Africans, like we just don't do that, but like now I think it's created a space for a lot of the conversations, in my opinion, and just kind of challenging those preconceived notions of how we think we should be interacting, as adults.
Yeah. I mean, like, and it's not for well, when it comes to the Senegalese media, like these shows, and like I was saying, it's not just like the acting and the media part of it. It's also because years ago, I'd say like about 10 years ago, usually our shows, most of the leading ladies were all either light skin or they were bleached. They were dark skinned women who bleached their skin. That's what you would see.
Mm-hmm.
But these new new shows. I'm telling you, they are all just these beautiful, gorgeous, dark-skinned women with like these outfits are absolutely amazing. Like there's a show called Maîtresse d'un homme marié. It's how do you translate? It's
Sorry, what is it called again?
Maîtresse d'un homme marié in English.
Say that in English, please.
Mistress of a married man.
Okay, stop it. Stop it. Stop this. Okay, wait. I am seeing our little unicorns hopping on, who I want to bring on for a second to have them share with us a little bit of a different perspective of this unicorn version of the Africa Rising. Bear with us as we bring the future onto the screen here.
Oh,
Hi! Nice. Oh, bye. Hi. Good morning.
wait, they didn't ask you yet. Okay, there you go.
You say, Obai, do you want to tell the family hi?
Say hi. And Laith.
And this is Laith.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello. So do you know what this panel is called? So we're talking about the Africa we see coming, and I know that earlier this year, you were in Africa, right? Mama and Baba took you to Africa?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
We went to the Nile. We saw animals.
What animals did you see, Obai?
Goats.
Inas's favorite.
So camels, goats, and stuff like that.
So were you just in Sudan or did you go somewhere else?
We were in Sudan. What's this thing? And
Yeah, you were in Sudan, right?
Yeah.
You were in Khartoum.
We were in Khartoum. And I got something in Sudan.
What did you get, Obai? Are you going to show us? First of all, can you tell the family your name? Can you tell the family your name and how old you are?
Okay.
Okay.
My name is Obey, and I'm 4 years old.
And you're 4 years old.
I'm Laith, and I'm 7 years old.
MashaAllah. And you went to Sudan, and you went to Egypt as well, right?
Yeah.
And what did you do in Egypt?
We went in the pyramids, we rode on camels, and stuff like that.
Yeah? Was Obai scared when he rode on the camel?
I don't really remember.
Obai, were you scared when you got on the camel? I cried the first time I got on a camel.
No.
Inas, were you scared?
We saw a lot of animals. I mean, we didn't. We were at the Sudan when we saw a lot of animals and a lot of zoos.
A lot of zoos? Wait, we have a zoo in Sudan?
And we saw a lot of animals.
You know, we have someone here from Kenya. Do you know where Kenya is?
No.
No?
Canada.
You know where Canada is, but there's also Kenya that's close to Sudan. And then we have Senegal, which is all the way on the other side of Africa. What can you tell me about Africa?
It's nice.
It's nice.
Yeah. We're sitting on my desk.
Can I see your desk? Is that the desk you let Baba use?
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
So what do you know about Africa?
We know that there are camels. And we know that there's pyramids. We went to the Nile. We know who made everything.
Who makes everything?
Nile. Allah, I know.
Okay. And what about
I know everything.
What about the food? Obay, what about the food? And Laith, what's your favorite drink?
Water and orange juice. Me too. I like water and orange.
How about Sudanese drink?
Do you like kerkade?
Kerkade, yeah, I don't like it. I kind of like it.
Do you know that kerkade is a flower? Do you know that kerkade is a flower? Do you want to see what kerkade looks like when it's not juice? Yeah?
You just happen to have some laying around.
I just have kerkade laying around here next to me. Look!
Whoa, that's so weird.
Because it's dried. But do you want to see what it looks like when it's still planted?
Yeah.
On the ground? I'll pull it out. I'll see. Hang on. Obay, ask Zaytoon and ask Jara to tell you something about kids in Kenya.
Tell them to ask you about, to tell you about Kenya and Senegal, the countries that they're in right now.
I don't know.
Ask them, what questions do you have? You like animals, so you can ask them what
I like all the animals, even all the zoos.
So ask them what animals are in Kenya and what animals are in Senegal.
No, I'm just going to show them which animals I saw.
Laith, look, this is what kerkade looks like when it's still planted in the ground.
That's so weird. It looks like thorns. It looks like red thorns.
It looks like thorns, you said?
Yeah, it looks so weird.
Look.
I like how it looks when it's juice.
You like what it looks like, but it's scary now? You don't like what it looks like now?
I can't see. So weird. It's too weird. I can't see myself.
Okay, we have comments here. Tara says baby. Yes. Okay, Zaytoon. Obay likes animals. Can you tell him what animals what animals would you see if you go on a safari in Kenya?
I would see
She's gonna tell you.
You would see some lions, some cheetahs.
I would see some. No, I didn't see a lion.
No, that's in Kenya.
If you come to Kenya, you'll get to see some lions.
Well, is it gonna eat me?
But Obay might be scared. He might be scared.
That has a rhino in it.
We have rhinos here too.
Wow.
Are the rhinos gonna destroy me and are the lions gonna eat me for lunch?
No. You can actually get pretty close in the car and you can watch them take a nap.
Oh, cool.
What happens if you ride one? Will it eat you?
Yeah, most likely. I haven't tried that out though, so I can't say I have any first-hand experience for you.
I would see a warthog.
There are warthogs as well. If you come, you will see some.
I'm definitely coming so I can eat the warthog.
Eat warthogs.
Eat the warthog.
What do you know? Can you at least touch it down? I've got two questions. One, I got to feed all the animals. Two, I got to go to a hotel. Three, I got to feed a pony. I got to feed.
If you come, you'll get to feed a giraffe. Do you want to feed a giraffe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll get to feed a giraffe.
I want to see it spit.
You'll get to see.
When I saw it spit, it was gross.
It has a very sticky tongue.
His name was. You know what the giraffe's name was? His name is Waffle.
Waffle? I don't know what these ones here are called, but we just
Waffle.
That's a good name for a giraffe, though.
Yeah.
Like in there? But Mama.
What about Jara? Jara, tell us about the animals.
Is there tigers?
There are no tigers in Africa. You won't see a tiger in Africa. Sorry.
Is there dinosaurs?
No dinosaurs. If we have, I will be very concerned. Camels? Yes.
It says camels in York.
There are camels everywhere.
No, and not in the zoo.
They don't even have to be in the zoo. They're just right outside.
I even got to see a macaw in the zoo.
A what?
A macaw.
I haven't heard of that animal
A
before.
macaw, like the parrot?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too advanced for me.
Yeah, that's next level.
I gotta Google this.
I haven't been to the bird sanctuary, so.
What if we only want to go for 1 or 2 weeks and we end up staying there
Oh,
for a month?
oh, I see what I'm. Okay, I like that bird. I like the macaw.
You like the, you remember making fun of me because I said I have the feather?
You
Yeah.
guys live in Kenya?
One of them does.
When we went to Sudan, we only planned to stay for like 2 weeks, but then all the airports were closed, so I had to stay for a month.
And how did you feel about having to stay there for a month?
I don't know, fine. I got to steal my mom's phone, at least.
You got to do what?
Now I got to steal my mom's phone since I didn't have my iPad or my Switch or anything. I got to steal her phone and play some Roblox.
Wait, can you guys tell me what you liked about Sudan?
I liked the lemonade, even though I haven't tried it. Hold up. I like the sprout and I like the pudding. I like.
Going to the store.
And I like going to the store too.
Mm.
I like going to the store, and once I was running and I was carrying a bag, and then the bag flew away from me, so I ran and got it. It was funny.
Aw. Would you guys live there? Would you move?
No, we're gonna move when we get a cat.
That was
That was
the
no
answer.
real
We're
quick.
getting a
nice.
cat in like 5 months, and we're gonna move when we
in our
get.
apartment, Sudan. You liked our apartment, Sudan.
Honey, yeah. We lived on the 7th floor, and I like the balcony too.
So you
What did you like about the balcony, Obay?
We got to see the sunset and stuff like that. And we got to see my dad when we were down, and he was in the balcony, and I got to see him. We were like outside of our apartment, and he was in the balcony, and we saw him. It's fun.
So would you live there?
Aw.
Would you live there?
Oh no, I won't.
Why?
I guess for another like 1 month.
For another month?
Yeah. So I can steal your phone and play some Roblox.
Looks like Sudan has some work to do.
Oh yes.
So, but I also have to add that we went there during quarantine, so they didn't get to explore. The
Okay.
country was on lockdown, which is why they have such a terrible opinion.
No, we were just talking about that. Now. We're talking about it from our side. Again, this is a topic that keeps up coming. We need to find a way to be tourists in our own country to know what that country has to offer, because in many ways the whole country was under quarantine for 30 years.
I got to see all the animals.
Again?
Well, not today. I didn't see all of them, but I just.
Okay, so which one was your favorite animal? And then we have to say bye to the family, but which one was your favorite animal?
My favorite was the goat. Bye. The
Bye.
goat.
Bye.
I like the goat and the camels.
Bye.
Bye,
Oh,
bye.
they're so cute.
What was your favorite animal?
Bye,
Or
Len.
what was your favorite thing about Sudan?
I like sharks.
How about
You
your
like
favorite thing about
sharks?
Sudan?
Sharks.
There are no sharks. You didn't see sharks in Sudan.
I don't care.
That's okay. Maybe you know what? This new generation is coming out in shark form, full shark form. So maybe that's what he's seeing.
Super cute.
Too adorable. Wait,
Thank
we've
you, guys.
They've hit.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for
Bye.
joining us. Thank you,
Thank
Nada.
Bye.
Oh, that's again, this is a glimpse of what we have. People, we have young, emerging beings that know what they want, won't hesitate to say it, will say it as it is, won't decorate it, won't sugarcoat it. And as Zaytun said, Sudan has a lot of work to do. we do, it's true. But there's
In the
also
meantime, we'll host you in Kenya while you guys continue on that work. And
Hey,
then
relax.
we'll send your people along happy and excited.
relax. Mr. Fissa, that laugh is so annoying.
Just saying. Just saying.
I think we all have work to do, to be honest, and we have a lot to learn from each other. So maybe not necessarily host us in Kenya, but come to Sudan and help us build.
Yeah, I told Inas, give me some time. I'll let you guys, get your shit together a little bit again, and then inshallah, I'll see you guys. Oh.
I'm not gonna respond to that. Nope. Nope.
The arrogance of this Kenyan.
Jara, I do want to ask you a question. Again, going back to, you were talking about the media, and I did have a question about the media and the kind of shows that are being produced. Would you say they are Afrocentric shows or programs? Or is the pushback because they are Eurocentric or Westernized or sort of imposing a way of thinking that is not necessarily
I think what I think is the confusing part there is if you look at it, it looks very Senegalese, as in the women, the language, the culture, clothes, everything about it, and the cultural stuff. But some of the topics, I won't say it's European, I'd say it's just taboo. And when something is taboo, Africans tend to say it's European. It's from the West, it's influenced by the West, even though it does happen here. So I think that is the issue, but I don't think, some of them are, but, some are not. I don't think it's taboo. I just think people might think it's European because they are showing it on the media, because you know how our culture here is everything. Some things are just hush-hush. It's basically you don't talk about it. We act like it just does not happen, even though it does. And, especially these really, really taboo topics. So I think that's the thing with the media. I honestly don't think it's European, because I think everything that they talk about does happen in Senegal. It's just the way it's portrayed, just having it. It's like Zaytun said, we're not used to seeing certain things. So you just randomly start seeing it on TV. Just because you don't see your parents kiss doesn't mean that they don't have their intimate moments, but that's not something that you're used to seeing. But then you see it on TV, just live there for everyone to see. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you. Yeah, because we had a few sessions about media and media literacy and understanding the subliminal messages that are put out through the content that we see or that we consume, and how much of that is leaving its imprint, whether subconsciously or consciously, in how we're moving forward or how we navigate these spaces in claiming our narratives or reclaiming our narratives, I should say. I guess my last question with Senegal specifically is the effort it's taken for heritage, September being African Heritage Month, and Senegal being one of the countries that is sort of pioneering the call for the return of the icons and the return of the antiquities from foreign land back into the continent. What are some of the reactions you are getting? And I don't know actually what the scene is. We had a panel on the need for Afrocentric archaeology, anthropology, in that sense. but the first thing that is thrown back into the conversations that Africans are not ready to look after this heritage. Africans are not ready to look after our antiquities and our history. Now, I know Senegal has a museum, and it's I think the first of its kind to be done in that capacity.
Yeah.
But can you tell us more about that? Because for me, that's one of the things that absolutely right with Africa, and we don't know about it.
Yeah, I think, well, you know, COVID has put everything on pause. Sorry for the background music. My dad is watching news and he likes to turn the volume on. So yeah. So I think with COVID, it has put everything on like a pause. But usually it's really, really big here. We usually have and the museum, I haven't been yet. I know it's terrible, but I heard it's a really, really great place. It has and I've heard that actually last year the NBA had some kind of event, really great event there. Even the commissioner was there. I don't remember his name, but it's this white guy, bald or whatever. Jidenna was here, Naomi Campbell. So they usually have these really big events there. So seems like it's doing quite well, and people come from all over the place to check it out. I haven't been, like I said, but I'd really, really want to go. I'm not sure if it's open because of COVID. I'm not sure if they closed it. But yeah, you guys should come visit the West. Have you guys been to West Africa?
No, I haven't. You haven't invited us.
And you guys can come. You don't have cool animals like the East. You guys, when it comes to the safari and all that, you beat us with that. But we have a pink lake.
Okay.
Well, can I just make a comment about this archaeology thing and your comment about what's normally thrown back, which is that Africans don't know how to take care of these things. I mean, it's just so insulting, really, when you hear such comments. Now, granted, we didn't, grow up being taught about, oh, you need to preserve this this history, or you need to be able to protect this history, because it's almost like something that was already being done. But creating physical spaces in which now, all of these artifacts could be placed, could be taken care of. I don't think that's something that was being put in people's minds. But as far as protecting history, we are probably the greatest keepers of history, if you really think about it, in terms of Africans, how we have passed down our cultures through generations, how we have shared knowledge, passed down through generations, how language has been preserved through generations, how our communities have been protected through generations. All of that is preserving our history. If anything, we are really one of the greatest guardians you'd come across of history. The only thing that we haven't done is adopt this concept of a museum in which you're now storing those artifacts, because typically these are things that would remain within the communities in which it meant something to. When that became disrupted, did this whole idea of having a museum somewhere to store these artifacts come about. So I don't think it's necessarily that you are dealing with Africans who don't know how to preserve historical instruments or artifacts. It's that you disrupted these societies that were already doing that. You disrupted these communities and took away in these exact artifacts that you're saying we don't know how to protect. You busied us with so many other things, such as conflict and our physical safety, that protection of random shields and things like that is considered to be amazing artifacts of history today, wasn't really top of our priorities in terms of what we valued and what we wanted to keep safe. Can we get back to now creating a space in which we can preserve that history? Yes. If you look at, let's say, Kenya, we're now a country of 44 different tribes. that's not how we were before colonialism. We were individual tribes and communities that were not now clogged and put together under this one identity of Kenya. So as we grow to, embrace this one identity of being Kenyan and then create a Kenyan history museum, as far back as it can potentially go, then yeah, we'll figure our way out. But I don't think that this excuse of Africans don't know how to preserve history really has any, really holds water or has any merit or is based on anything real. We've always preserved our histories, and I don't see why we now can't do it in a physical structure. The only reason why that's being continuously said is because it's the only justification they have to keep all our historical artifacts rather than return them.
Yeah, I think you bring up an excellent point, Zaytoun. I think for so long we've been in survival mode in Africa, and the trauma and having to just, when you're in survival mode, I mean, that's really all you think about, right? Like, it's just how to make it the next day. And I think a lot of things like entertainment, tourism, celebrating what the country has isn't in the forefront of priorities. And I think the challenge is that a good portion of Africa is still in survival mode, depending on what regions, where you go. And even just between, like, right now here, Sudan, Senegal, and Kenya, as particularly, especially with like Senegal and Kenya, as being the African hub, or a known African attraction from the West perspective. You're more likely to get somebody to visit Kenya and Senegal before Sudan, for example. But some parts of Senegal and Kenya are still in survival mode, and so I think, and Sudan as well. It's the challenge is, how do we still embrace ourselves and celebrate ourselves and highlight what we have and enjoy the space that we're in as Africans, while also there's this other piece where some of the country is still grappling with or trying to make sense of violence or corruption or other just traumatic events that are happening. And I think that's just kind of like my struggle in between, that I feel like I almost can't just celebrate it in a weird way, because I know, because some parts of that would require me turning a blind eye into like what's happening a few kilometers from like here. And I think that's just kind of, and in good faith, I can't recommend for somebody to come with me, because it's I don't know what your safety is going to be like, and I don't want to jeopardize that. And so I think that it's just a hard space.
Well, I'm happy to say that one of the unicorns who's not present with us, Jean-Michel, will be coming through tomorrow on a debate specifically on the return of the icons. And he'll be bringing in his minions to dissect this angle from both sides. For those of you who don't know, Jean-Michel came through in our inaugural Africa Week 2020 with a debate with the Rwandan students and Tanzanian students speaking on Pan-Africanism and whether or not that is a myth and reality. And that was a debate that made every bit of tears, sweat, and pain that went into the inaugural 20 worth it, because when we see how confidently these young leaders, these emerging wave makers, put forward their case in such a matter-of-fact way that there was no room, whether or not they believed in what they are saying, but in the way they have researched it to the point that they are able to articulate their arguments in that way, was just perfect. And I can't wait to see how they will tackle the issue of, is Africa ready for the return of the icons? Because I absolutely agree with Zaytoun in how it's even being discussed. And my mind was completely blown. And speaking with Afford in the UK and seeing some of the discussions that was happening with the British Museum, that they have some of the Ethiopian antiquities that no one can touch except an Ethiopian priest. Even to clean the artifact, it cannot be touched except by an Ethiopian priest, and it's just sitting there, lying in the basement. No one's able to touch it. No one's able to move it. It's not even on display. And when the discussion started with Ethiopia for it to return, then it became a question mark of, well, we will loan it to you. What do you mean you will loan it?
What?
You will loan it back to, and this is why the Ethiopians rejected it. It was like, no. And it goes back to the panel we had right before this, which is the power of wording. You know, how are you going to say you are loaning back something that you took unlawfully out of this land, away from these people? And it always goes back to, well, you're not ready to look after it. You're not ready to take care of it. You're not ready to preserve it. And granted, I will say that, especially for Sudan, and this is something I'm seeing with the Nubian antiquities, they are being destroyed. You know, they are being looted. They are being smuggled. They are being robbed. I mean, and it's a very lucrative business, the looting and the smuggling of antiquities. And Ines, I'm sure you have some insights on that. In Morocco, they smuggled an entire dinosaur, like an entire dinosaur out of Morocco was smuggled through Mali and Senegal. It's crazy, and it made the way to Italy and then into Paris, and then it's being auctioned in Paris, and the Moroccans are like, hang on, that's us. And then the Italians were like, well, someone's gonna need to pay us because we assembled it. And this is the ridiculousness of the conversations that are happening. Someone's gonna have to pay us because we assembled something that we stole out of your land. So you're gonna have to pay us because now you get to take a full dinosaur back.
Man, I have to take a deep breath on that. The crazy thing is, man, from a financial perspective, it's like, you know, these artifacts are, you know, putting a price on them is, to me, is just ridiculous. But it even goes to help a lot of people profit, unrightly so. These precious jewels and the gold and artifacts and all of these historical pieces, I mean, they're ripe ground for money laundering. I mean, you can put whatever price on it and present it to whatever financial institution and be like, yep, this is worth $5 million. And it's all, you know, money that's coming from whatever illegitimate sources that money is coming from. And now you're concealing it and putting it on a price tag for whatever piece of art that is, and just putting a price on that. And then now once that's sold and shared in the globe, it's out there. You know, now you've got $5 million of drug money that's integrated within the financial system, and there that goes. And it is such a challenge trying to like stop that and parsing if that's actually where the money is coming from. Like, so I think it's being taken advantage in that sense, whether it's the lack of appreciation or just the lack of knowledge in how we preserve these things. And then you have, you know, it's breeding ground for corruption, money laundering, all that stuff. And people just getting to put whoever has their hands on it, you know, the chain of custody of things. Like, these things should be preserved as national treasures. They shouldn't be sold by individuals. I mean, there's also like pride here. Like we need a, you know, what is Jean-Michel saying? So how do we pay to give back? What
Jean-Michel.
It's out. It's cat's out.
But you know, okay, let's look at it like this. All right. So this whole thing about, all right, some artifacts that have been brought back and now they're being stolen, or, you know, they're being broken or whatever it is. All right, let's take a country like Kenya. You have 44 different communities that identify as Kenyan. You have a random artifact that's unique to the Somali history, and and you want to put it in this museum that you want to say is a museum for Kenyans, showcasing Kenyan history. First of all, you've got to actually do a lot of awareness raising, a lot of campaigning beforehand for the community, the citizens of your country, to actually start to take pride in the history of a culture that's not theirs. You're talking about one country that is made up of 44 different backgrounds, a history that is not shared between those 44 different communities, except for the colonial aspect. So an artifact that's special to the Somali community may not be so special to another tribe or clan within Kenya itself. So trying to protect these artifacts, you've got to first of all create value for them within the populace of each of these countries in which you're probably going to be returning these artifacts to. When you create value for them, what you are in fact doing is you're instilling a sense of responsibility, not just amongst the governments who will be probably, you know, responsible for the security of these things, but also for the communities that inhabit these countries, to actually say that is a part of our history. That does need to be preserved, that does need to be protected. And if it doesn't, we want to make sure that there's somebody to be held accountable, which will sort of reinforce the initiative on the part of government to want to even actually invest in the security measures that are required to protect these things. Like, who are we kidding? It's not as if in the United States or in these European countries, these things are not going to be stolen. Every day you hear about precious artifacts being stolen from different museums. I mean, things being stolen, things being at risk of being damaged and being or stolen and auctioned elsewhere isn't unique to Africa. It's everywhere. It's just that in those other countries, the necessary investments to protect these things have been put in place. And that's because value has been created for them in those countries, even if it has nothing to do with their own history. But there's a value in which those governments have managed to instill in their people, that those people wake up and say, I love this Chinese thing and this Chinese artifact or the Sudanese artifact, even though I have no idea what the hell it is, no idea what significance it holds in that culture. And it really has no real meaning to me except for the fact that it's placed in this museum and it must mean something if it's placed in this museum. It's really that's all that's been done. So I don't see why the same thing cannot be done in our countries. It's just that putting in the work is what's missing, that willingness to put in that work. And I think it's just being used as an excuse, the whole thing of, oh, it's going to be stolen and all of that. I think that's just being used as an excuse for the work that's required to make sure that these things are eventually being protected and are being valued in our countries. And as long as there exists a market for these things once they're stolen to be sold into, because they're just going back to these countries that are returning them to us. They're going back to the Italys, they're going back to the UKs, and then it's them that say, oh, well, if you want it back, you gotta pay us something for it. So it's the same when you look at poaching, right? I mean, how many Africans are really interested in elephant tusks? Really? I mean, it was just, there's a market outside of Africa that exists for this thing. And a lot of these organizations, even in Kenya, it's known, a lot of these white-owned conservation organizations are in fact participating in the poaching industry and are then also selling themselves as conservationists. So who are we kidding here? The same people that are telling us we're not going to be able to be protecting it because it's going to be stolen, they're trying to make it seem like it's our people that are going to be stealing them. But in actuality, it'll be them that will be stealing them. They'll only just be using our people to get access to it.
Yeah, and I think let's face it, it's our reality in general in Africa. It's uh, you know, people who are struggling to make it um, each day. You know, you present to them an opportunity. You know, let's get into this ivory trade business, or you know, stealing of artifacts and whatnot, and you can make, you know, equivalents of, even if it's not millions, but just a couple $100, or
Mhm.
even if it's just $10, man, like that goes a long way in Africa. And I think so there are people in Africa that are opportunistic like that, where, you know, that is, they'll jump at the opportunity because
Right.
obviously they need to, for them it's a bottom line. They need to provide for
Yeah.
their family. So I can't even hate that, you know, because, you know, you got to do what you got to do to feed your family if it's a life or death situation. But at the same time, uh, it's not acceptable. And I think when it comes to, you hit on it, Zaytun. It's, we don't, and I don't like to generalize, but if I could generalize, in Africa, we don't necessarily have an appreciation of those artifacts. Um, like you said, the African tusks and like all these like the woven type of stuff, like the baskets and a lot of handmade stuff. You just kind of take it as like, this is what's available here. But when you take this to, for example, in the to the American context, like these things are like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. And like, while that small basket that was sold in the Sudanese market for 50 cents is being sold here for, in America, for like $20. And you're just making a whole lot of profit out of it. And but the appreciation of what we have culturally, you know, the artifacts and all of that in Africa, I think a lot of times this doesn't exist. I don't necessarily feel it. I mean, for like the average person in Sudan, if you talk to them about the pyramids in Sudan and what Sudan has to offer in terms of these artifacts and whatnot, and just in terms of like the goods that are being now smuggled, those pieces, those historical pieces that are being smuggled and sold on the black market. If you ask the average person, they're like, well, they don't necessarily like care too much about it. So how do we instill that, I guess, appreciation for what we have, and in order for us to understand that these things are valuable. So if somebody is approaching us and saying, um, what can I get for this? Or even in the black market, like, are we selling ourselves short in terms of what we're presenting? You know, at that point, we have the power to set our price. If somebody's coming and saying, how much can I get for that basket? You know, I'm gonna say 5 million. But how do we instill that appreciation? How do we, like, as a people collectively come and say, no, these things are valuable to us and they're not for sale. And Zaytun, I love, I know in the Somali culture, there's the whole uh, consulting with your elders when it comes to any matter that will affect the family, and just coming together, just having that union. I'm always appalled by that. That, you know, coming together as a family to solve whatever issue that exists in society. And I think, you know, maybe starting with that as kind of using our elders to cultivate or to bring attention to the fact that, like, these are heritage pieces that we just can't put a price on it. So I guess, I don't know, I'm just kind of out of ideas as to, like, how do we, I don't know, how do we get through to people to make sure that, like, to send the message that this stuff is valuable.
It'll take some time, but it's just about starting. I think the starting is where the problem is. So inshallah, maybe somebody will take on that challenge. Who knows? Maybe you and I, Inas. Since we're talking about it, we might as well be acting on it too.
That's true. I've heard some proposals that we should be starting our own podcast, but you know, in the grapevines of what I hear. But you know, we gotta be about action. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So I think there's another panel coming up, like Dima mentioned.
Yeah, I think she's setting up another panel. We do have a few more minutes. We could still continue the conversation.
What's the next panel about?
The next panel is the Whirlwind, the Marcus Garvey Bronze Sculpture Project. I believe. There's another one about the Afrocentric struggle, which is pretty interesting. I think that's happening at 10. Yeah, 10 to 2. It should be interesting.
This is some really great stuff that Dima is doing, like mashallah. Being able to get all different types of people on these panels to be able to talk about these different topics is pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, I think the conversations are greatly needed. I think for a while there isn't necessarily I don't want to say a space, but it's okay to come collectively and have a conversation, a debate about ideas, about culture, about how do we approach certain things from the African perspective, because if we can't do it for ourselves, nobody else can do it. And if we don't take control of our narrative ourselves and what we want to put out in the world, it's going to be done for us. And we may not like how that's presented. So I think we do have to come together and have these conversations and collectively agree on, there's going to be plenty of disagreements, but, just also focusing on the positives of how do we want to shape our narrative in Africa and what do we want it to look like, because it's ours. Yeah.
I think I would say maybe the Africa, I think for me as a closing point, the Africa that I would wish to see is, I think, a more confident one, because confidence, I think, is something that has been hard to come by for many, many of us. And I think that there's just a lot of panels like these or weekly sessions like these that Dima is hosting can really go a long way in instilling confidence in us as the people of this continent, and things, just discussing what we can be proud of, and discussing about the challenges that we face, not in a negative light, but in a way where it's all right, what is our game plan for wanting to solve those issues. So I think, yeah, that's the Africa I'd like to see, a more confident one that's being prideful, and we know who we are, we know what it is that we're capable of, we know where we've come from, and we know where we want to go. And I don't think that and we don't want to let anyone stop us from achieving what it is that we want to achieve, inshallah.
No, certainly. I'm looking at the comments as we're talking about artifacts, and I guess the value of our those heritage pieces. Imani writes, reminds me of paying colonizers for land after taking back what they stole. Inside.
Oh my goodness. That's right now is still the reality of Kenya. The fact that if I want to go to Naivasha and visit one of this island, it's called Crescent Island. To go visit it, you're literally having to pay a fee to this white family that apparently owns that land. And you're just like, what do you mean you own this land? This is public land. And you're paying a fee to that white family. And they're just, people that remain behind from colonialism that still own, hundreds of acres of land, thousands even in some places.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you're telling me that to come and see the animals that belong on this land, I must come and pay you.
Yeah,
drives me crazy. I will never visit that island.
Issue in here too, like in Senegal, like not just the French, Lebanese own a lot of really good land, like the coast. All these restaurants you see around the coast are not even owned by Senegalese. They're owned by either Lebanese or French, and they hire Senegalese and basically treat them like crap, to be honest. And like even hotels, they'll have these really, really high rates that that the average Senegalese person cannot afford. But like, let's say a foreigner comes and they have UN rates that is like, it's like, or mission rates or diplomat rates or whatever, or someone from the US or whatever, they'll have like these lower rates. But the Senegalese people do not have those rates. Like, who needs that discount more? You know, you have one room for like $200-300, but when someone from the US comes, or someone, from France comes, you give them like a 25% discount or whatever. Like, so it's a big issue here in Senegal as well. Honestly, the West owns the West and the Lebanese own most of our prime land, which is somewhat problematic. Like, I'm not trying to be like xenophobic or something, no, but it's like, it's not fair. It's really, really not fair. And I also honestly, I'm not going to lie, I sometimes blame the government, because I feel like they do these, those people did not just come and say, hey, this is mine. Something they would do, something was happening in the, under, in another room or on the side, for them to have access to such. When I tell you prime land, is, I mean, these restaurants are literally like on the coast, like land that is worth like billions, and we don't even own it. I mean, the U.S. Embassy is situated at such a prime land. It's situated on the western coast of Africa, such prime land, and it's not even ours. We gave that to the U.S. Embassy. So it's just stuff like that it's kind of infuriating. It's like, it pisses me. It's like, and then we can't even go there because it's the U.S. Embassy. So that's U.S. land, So you're a son or a daughter from Senegal. You can't even step into that. It is the western coast of Africa. The big building is there, protected by all these American stuff. We can't even step foot without being treated like crap. In our own country, our land.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's interesting you bring up the U.S. Embassy site. I mean, it's the same thing in Sudan. It's like this huge compound that was state of the art built, and it's, like you said, only accessible to not Sudanese people. And it prime location near the Nile, everything. But that's just kind of, I think that's the part that bothers me the most, is that in Africa, we are incredibly generous people. And I do love and admire that about us. But I think we need to value ourselves a whole lot more. When all of these foreigners come, and we give them the red carpet, and we want the best to showcase to them and all of that. However, to the next African person that's coming in, that's not necessarily, the whole red carpet treatment isn't given. And I think there's still that obsession with being foreign and being white and American and British and whatnot in our culture, that it's hard, it's tough to shake. And it's tough to shake from even from top levels, from like, I'm talking about people in power and government level type of level, to just down to the regular people. I mean, I think I was just kind of like baffled by this in September 2020. I don't know, you guys heard of Barbados dropping Queen Elizabeth as their head of state, you know, news that's coming out. And I like, to me, I was just like, we're still like, we're still having these ties to those colonial powers, and not in a naive way or anything, but on paper, like we're still kind of like letting these things kind of slide by. It's you know, September 2020, like we are in Barbados, we're saying we don't want that anymore. We have our own the head of state that looks like us and represents us and our interests, and that's what we want. And so I think it's still like there is that crippling effect of obviously still trying to dismantle those colonial forces and really just be our own. And I think that struggle still continues to play out culturally in kind of what we believe as who should we make room for and who should we kind of put on a pedestal before ourselves. And I think that's gotta change.
I want to thank you all for your contribution. Sorry, I had to make a quick run to prepare for the next phase of the day, which will be packed and continuing these conversations. In fact, the next panel is from Komombo to Quilombo, connecting the indigenous and Afrocentric struggle, where we have a lot of bridges and a lot of dots to connect and a lot of things to learn from one another, whether continental or diasporan Africans, but also indigenous, the indigenous struggle here in the United States. So we'll be having some of that. I really want to thank you all for this very rich conversation, and you definitely took it beyond the unicorn version of this. Normally we have a 1 hour session of what's right with Africa, but this was more than I could ask for. And at the risk of being redundant, there needs to be an African Unicorn podcast. I call for that. And we're happy to yield our platform here at Africa Week 2020. And here we have Myron saying, this was very enjoyable and enlightening discussion. I agree, Myron. And if you believe they need to come back as a podcast, please, let's hear it. Let's see your comments. Let's demand them to demand a return and encore of the African Unicorn conversation. Zaytoun, Jara, Inas, thank you so very much for sharing your insights, for giving us a glimpse of what's happening in the continent, the good, the bad, and the ugly, but most importantly, what it is we see coming. And with all the challenges and all the pauses and all the work we still need to do, I think we can say with confidence that Africa is rising, and we are Africa rising. And the more we keep having these conversations, and like Inas said yesterday in a different discussion, we just need to keep pressing. We just need to keep pressing. So any last remarks before I send you off for our next panel starts?
We talked about you
Thank
while
you
you
for
were
hosting this,
away.
Dima.
Sorry. We talked about you, Dima, while you were away, and we said that this is great programming. We all appreciate the opportunity to come and share our perspectives. Like, this is pretty dope. This is pretty huge. And I think for a while, you know, fighting for spaces and being in a rut to try to figure out, to create a space from scratch, and it can be a daunting task. And you have shown us that that is not such a crazy difficult thing to do. So we definitely appreciate that inspiration and the opportunity to come here and just.
That's what I've done. I've shown you that it's not crazy.
It's not that bad. Yeah, it's not that bad.
Okay, well, I am dropping the link for those listening and those on the screen to later come back and find the streaming partners link. If you are interested in having a conversation like this that comes back and is a continuous one, please fill in that form and let us yield this platform so we can have more of these discussions. This is an open space and it's for the entire family to come through and raise the issues that you think need to be raised and you think our family needs to be discussing as a collective. And thank you for telling me that you're talking about me behind my back. Now I need to go back and listen.
I gave you a summary.
Thank you. Jara, Zaytoun, any last words for the family until you come back for our next reunion, or maybe before with the books?
Well, it was really great. Thank you, Dima. It was such a really nice conversation. I've learned a lot. Inviting you guys to come to the West. Also, I hope we have more West audience and people come in to talk. More West.
We do. We need more. So please tag more people to come through. We do. It's always a struggle getting the West Africans. I'm not gonna lie.
You know how we are. You know, like when Zaytoun was talking about confidence, I was like, girl, please, Nigeria has enough for the whole continent. We do not even need to push them to be more confident. Like they already have enough. But all jokes aside, really, this was a really nice conversation. Thank you so much, Dima, for inviting us. Inas, thank you. This was really, really nice. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening to you guys, and I enjoyed sharing my perspective and everything. So thank you so much. I'd love to join again. You know, so just let me know, and I'm happy to join.
We shall. And since your work is on women, I should let you know that we do have a presentation. It's probably going to be really late in Senegal, but you can rewatch it tomorrow. A presentation on Black Moms Matter, Black maternal health specifically. So it should find it tomorrow morning if you're not going to be plugged in live.
I would really, really love that, which is currently an issue in Gambia because a lot of mothers are dying in childbirth because no one's going to when they go to the hospital, they're not treated because of COVID. Because if you do not come with COVID symptoms, they don't really treat you. You know, you don't get the treatment that you need. So a lot of women are dying on childbirth. So a lot in Gambia lately. So would really love to listen to that conversation.
Perfect. I shall forward it over and tag you to it. On that note, I thank you all. Zaytoun, thank you for the snide laughs, the jokes.
Thank you, Dima, for having us. I appreciate it, and I look forward to tuning into your other talks.
Yes, please tune into tomorrow's Return of the Icon. Jean-Michel always has something under his sleeve, ready to unleash inshallah. On all of us. So we're ready, inshallah, to hear that. I'm looking forward to it. Family, please refresh your browsers. We are coming back with From Kumombo to Kilombo, the Afrocentric struggle. Thank you so much.
Bye.